Hi guys, my name's Sophie and today I'm going to be doing a book haul. I've then got some books that I bought before then. These are all books that I bought last month, I think. So, first of those is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. This is the UK cover rather than the American cover. I like these ones better. I like the second series. The American cover's better. I think they're much prettier. But I am going to post a review of this soon because I've already read it. Basically, Percy Jackson is a boy who's about 12, I think, in the first book. And he is the son of a Greek god. He is a demigod. That's the premise of this book. And he discovers that he's a demigod and he goes to Camp Half-Blood, wherein there are, like, all of these campers are demigods, so they're all the children of Greek gods. Greek gods are like Zeus and Aphrodite and Hermia and Apollo and all of that. I was going to say Mercury. Mercury's not Greek, he's Roman. But they're just, I really like this book. There are 5 in this series, and then there's another series afterwards called The Heroes of Olympus, and there's 5 in those. And Rick Riordan, he's got a good knack for writing books. Like, these are, I think, really young YA or kind of older middle grade books, and I still really enjoyed them. Like, there wasn't a time where I was kind of like, this is really obvious. Like, there was one bit in this book where I kind of knew which character it was that was gonna do something, but other than that, like, there wasn't a bit where I was like, oh, but this is so obvious. Like, I thought it was really good. It was a pretty easy read, like, it's not too complicated, but I really enjoyed it and I thought it was really good. And I might watch the film. I know it's not supposed to be a fantastic film, but I might watch it. I then got this next book twice. So I bought this, which is If You Find Me by Emily Murdoch, and I read it, and it was really good and really interesting, and then it got covered in water and expanded to 3 times its size, so my mum had to get me a second copy. So this is the second copy of this book that I have, but I've already read it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. The premise is kind of, these 2 girls live in the woods with their mum, who is a drug addict, and she kind of goes off and leaves them for long periods of time. She goes to get more drugs and leaves the 2 girls in this caravan in the middle of the woods, and then one day she never comes back, and a social worker and the main character Carrie's dad come into the woods and find the girls and kind of take them back to civilization. And it's kind of about Carrie and her sister Nessa and their story of kind of figuring out why they were in the woods and why their mum took them and why they've come back, and adjusting to the real world and kind of figuring out who to trust and who it is that they love and what kind of, just figuring out their life. I really liked it. I think the best way to describe this is kind of like a psychological coming of age story. I think that's a good description. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really good, and like I said, for a couple of these books, my review for this book will be up in a couple of days. I then have Morgan Madsen's Amy and Roger's Epic Detour, which is about this girl Amy whose dad dies, and her mum, because of this, decides to move their whole family across the country. And her mum has moved across the country to go and live in this new house and left Amy to kind of finish her school year, and then she'll fly over to their new house and the car will be shipped. But they don't really have enough money to do that, so instead her mum has roped their friend of the family, Roger, who is a bit older than Amy, who is going to visit his dad in Philadelphia for the summer, and she says to Roger, okay, can you drive the car and Amy across country, and once you get here I will drive you to Philadelphia, which is like the next state over, so it's not too far. And so Roger agrees, and then Amy's mum sets out this like itinerary of where they're going to stop and how long they're going to stop for. It should take them 5 days. And then they get in the car and they're like, I don't really want to go there. Let's take a detour. Let's go somewhere else. Let's do something different. Let's have a bit of fun. And it's just a kind of cutesy, contemporary, like, healing book, because Amy's still not over the death of her dad, and it's cute and lovely. I really enjoyed it, and as I've said with like 4 books already, my review of this book will be up very soon. We've now moved on to books that I haven't read, so my review for these won't be up anytime soon because I haven't read them yet. The next book is The Scorch Trials by James Dashner. This is the second book in the Maze Runner series, and because of spoilers I can't tell you the plotline of this book, but the Maze Runner is about this boy who wakes up in the middle of this box thing, elevator thing, and doesn't know who he is or where he is or what the hell's going on, and he turns out to be trapped in the centre of a maze with loads of other boys and no way of escaping, and it's kind of about that. The film has just come out, and my review of the film will be up in the next 2-3 weeks maybe, because I have seen it once but I need to reread the book and then possibly see the film again before I can do a review. But I hopefully am going to read this. Like, if I reread The Maze Runner soon, I will probably go straight onto this one. I had some issues with The Maze Runner, but I am going to continue with the series, mainly because my mum said that I have to. Yeah, pretty much. Like, my mum read the first one before I did, because she had nothing to read and it was there, so she just started reading it. And she finished it and said, I hate the writing style, I found this incredibly infuriating, I don't like any of the characters, but I need to know what happens, so you have to read the rest of the series. So I'm going to read the rest of the series, because I kind of felt the same way, but I wasn't as infuriated by it as she was, so I'm going to read the rest of the books. So I'm mildly interested to read this book. Like, I don't have high hopes for this book, but I need to finish the series. I then have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, because I'm so late to this bandwagon. The Grisha trilogy has been out, like the third one's been out for at least 3 months or something, and I have been really wanting to read this since I started BookTube, and I just haven't got around to it. Mainly because the first one hasn't been in my Waterstones for quite a while, and then it was, and I bought it, and I just haven't got around to it. I know practically nothing about this series. I know that there's a character called the Darkling. I know that it's got something to do with Russia. I know that the covers are gorgeous, and that's about it. Like, I know nothing else about this series, so I can't really give you a description because I don't know anything about it. But it sounds really interesting, and everyone that I kind of watch on BookTube who talks about it has nothing but positive things to say about this book. So I am excited to read this one. So the next book that I have, I saw, I think for the first time on Reagan's channel, which is Peru's Project, and she talks about this book quite a lot, and it sounds really interesting. And currently some of my favourite books ever are set in the Second World War, and I find the Second World War incredibly intriguing. Like, obviously it was a horrific thing, but as a period of history, I think it's really interesting to learn about. I really like recent history, and the 1940s and 30s were really interesting times to learn about. So currently some of my favourite books that are historical fiction are in that time, so like Hitler's Canary and The Book Thief are some of my favourite kind of historical fiction books. And I got this, which is a hefty thing of a book called All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I'm gonna go with Doerr. And this is kind of a bit about, I don't know the entire storyline, I don't know much about it, but I know that there is a blind girl and a Nazi youth, and it's kind of about their stories and their lives going from before the war, through the war, and kind of out the other side. And it's gorgeous. B, someone who I trust on books keeps talking about it a lot. And C, it's set in one of my favourite historical fiction time periods, so I was like, yep, hell yes, buying this book, defo buying this book. So I will read it at some point. This might be my like Christmas read. Like, that sounds really strange, but like, I might take this on holiday. It might come with me to Rome. Not Rome, Italy. It might come with me to Rome, or I might read it kind of Christmas Eve, Christmas Day kind of time, because I'll have a lot of time to kill then. But yeah, I'm very interested to read this book. It looks so interesting, but it's really heavy, so I'm going to put it down now. Next book that I have is a book where I think the sequel is coming out next month or something, and it's The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I have the small kind of like industrial paperback version, which I'm alright with. Like, the bigger version is nice, but I'm happy with this version. And again, I don't know much about this, I just know that everyone who I've heard talk about it says nothing but good things, and that it's got a kind of like mystical magic background thing to it, and I think it's about like seers or fortune tellers or something, and it looks really interesting. I think it's an actual adult book, which like, I have nothing against adult books, and I really like them when I like them, but often they don't grab my attention enough. But this looked really pretty and interesting, and it's about clairvoyance. I feel like that's just enough reason in and of itself to read it, especially considering that it's an international bestseller, and like, I've never heard a bad word against this book. So I'm very interested to get around to this, but again, it's quite long, and I don't have a lot of time, so I don't know when that will be. Only 3 more to go. The next one is a book by, this author is an auto-buy author for me, which is odd because she's only written 2 books. So I read one of her books several years ago, and she has since become an auto-buy, and I think this is only her second book ever. But I saw it and I was like, I must have this book, and it's The Killing Woods by Lucy Christopher. And the book that I read of hers is called Stolen, and if you haven't read this book, go now, go buy it, go read it, get it from the library, I don't care, steal it from your dog. Read this book right now. It's fantastic. So read that, and then get this one and read this one. So this book is about a girl who lives in the woods with her dad, and then one day her dad brings home a dead body. Or more specifically, he brings home a girl who is dying, and by the time he gets her home, she's dead. And her dad then becomes, obviously, the key suspect in the murder investigation of this young girl. And that's kind of all I know about this book, but like I said, Lucy Christopher is an auto-buy for me because Stolen was such a good book. It was heart-wrenching, but brilliant, and I thoroughly loved it. So this was an auto-buy for me, and I'm really excited to read this book. Next one is a book that I did not buy. My mother bought it for me because I read the first one and then forced her to read it, and then I said, Mom, you know how you really enjoyed this book? Well, sequel. And she bought it because she likes books just as much as I do, so this works. And it is Unravel Me by Tahara Muffy, because I've already read Shatter Me. And again, it's the American paperback. I don't understand you, Americans. How do you even make paperbacks this floppy? I don't understand. Like, British paperback, little bit. American paperback. I don't understand how you do this. Like, I don't understand. Also, these covers are gorgeous. I'm so glad I got these ones and not the ones with the girl on the front doing that or whatever. But basically, I can't tell you much about the plot of this one because it is the second in a series, but the first one is about a girl who has, like, when she touches people, they die. And that's pretty much all I knew about the first one when I read it, and I think it's a good book to go into not knowing much about. So I'm going to leave it at that, and just think about how gorgeous these covers are, and then you will have to read them, because look at that. Look at how pretty that is. And the last book that I have to haul today is Messenger of Fear by Michael Grant, which is his newest standalone book. He wrote the Gone series, which I've read and really enjoyed, and the Berserk series, which I haven't read, but I do have and will read at some point, and Adam and Eve, which he wrote with his wife, which I really want to read. But I don't know anything about this at all nothing. What I know is the cover's really soft and really pretty, and when it's naked, it's gorgeous. So this is completely black, look, black pages, but when you shine it in the light, I'm trying to find an angle where you can see anything. Can you see that? But look at all the markings, isn't that pretty? And it's on the front as well, like I've got an angle so that the light reflects properly. But they're just such interesting, I love it. I think it's going to be such an interesting read. Like, the Gone series was so good. Shit scary, but good. And if you haven't read them, you really, really should. They're so interesting. And they're, like, they could have gone, like, down the easier path of being interesting, but not scary. And, like, they're not kind of, like, they're quite violent, but they're not super, super violent, and that's why they're scary. They're just scary because if you thought about that happening in real life, that's probably the most realistic way that things would go down. And it was just... Basically, Michael Grant is just, like, I trust his writing. So, this book, I'm interested to read it. This might be a Halloween read. I've got a lot of kind of spooky, scary books on my TBR now, so I don't know. I really want October to be longer. Or I want half term to be longer, and then I can do more reading. But yeah, this I'm interested to read this, but I don't know what it's about. That is that book haul. That was very long. Thank you guys for watching, and I will be back with another video soon. So many books. So many books. So many books, guys. The Scorch Trials by James. The two main characters in this are kind of my favourite. Two of. Oh my god, my back hurts so much. I think that's everything good. It's not getting everything in the shot. Why is it not getting everything into the shot? I will see you guys next time. Bye. Ah! No. No. Oh, I'm so tired. I forgot the iron trial.